Giannis Antetokounmpo, affectionately known as the Greek Freak, elected to sign a 5-year extension in excess of $228 million. I wanted to know how big of a deal was that in your mind, not just for him, for the city of Milwaukee, but for the league, the fact that he decided to stay in a smaller market. Talk to me about what that means to you.
I think it's a huge deal. In essence, it means that the collective bargaining agreement is working as we designed it. I mean, as you know, it's no secret. We build in huge incentives for players to stay in the market that drafted them, both in terms of signing extensions and then ultimately, renewing their contracts there. And there's enormous financial incentives. And the goal is in our league, in that, especially with the huge explosion in social media and the distribution of our games globally, the goal is that players are making decisions based on the quality of the team they're playing for, the belief in the community, the management of the team, all those factors, as aside from just the absolute size of the market. And I think that the Milwaukee Bucks have done an incredible job surrounding Giannis with a roster that is championship caliber. I think that the community has embraced him, certainly in terms of his personal accomplishments as multiple MVPs and globally known. I think what we're seeing here is that a realization from Giannis that at this point now it's about winning, not being in a market that may have more people. So again, I think it's a very positive sign for the league.
We can't have the NBA commissioner on and not ask him a question about the best player in the world, who would happen to be LeBron James, an NBA champion for the fourth time in his 18th season. He's approaching his 18th season now. Can you speak a little bit about what he has meant to the league, what he means to the league right now, particularly in the midst of a global pandemic, in terms of how he's conducted himself and how he's led the Lakers to their 17th championship? Can you talk about LeBron James from the standpoint of what he means to the league right now?
Sure. I think one of the most important things that people in the league know, but maybe a lot of fans don't, or people outside of the league, that in addition to being arguably the best or one of the best, of course, players in the league, he's certainly one of the hardest working. And I think that has as much to do with the longevity and success of his career than anything. And I'd say, for example, Stephen A., when I spent several weeks in the bubble, I visited a few times earlier during the restart of the season. You frankly, other than seeing him on the court, you wouldn't have known he was there. I mean, he was so focused on his game, so focused on his body and taking care of himself that that's the commitment and dedication that has enabled him to have a career as long as it's been and to continue playing at an MVP type level at this age and with all the miles on his body. So that's his on the court activity, and off the court, I think it's incredible what he's continued to do. He led a huge, voter registration and engagement initiative. He's been, very outspoken on things that affect him and his community and his family and our country. So I'd say, I'm incredibly proud of him personally, but I think he's a marvel in so many ways. And again, though, so much of it comes back, whether it's his on the court activities or off the court, are his focus and dedication.
Transitioning from him to Brooklyn, New York. On one hand, you've got KD and Kyrie in Brooklyn, which is a very, very big deal because obviously when you got two of those stars on your squad, you're considered a title contender. On the other hand, you've heard the stories about Kyrie and how he didn't want to speak to the media. You saw a report by ESPN's Tim McMahon where he highlighted some of the things about James Harden and the latitude that was given to him by the Houston Rockets organization. How do stories like that affect you? How do you believe stories like that affect the league in the eyes of the public? What are your thoughts about that?
Look, it's not just the stories, as you know. It's not only about the media. It's about the actuality of what happens at some teams. And I only say I think we all know that it's nothing new in professional sports, or certainly in the NBA, that not everyone's happy at all times in their situation, and a lot of those issues have been compounded by the pandemic. Look, face it, that for the isolation that has come with it for many people, being away from friends and family in the bubble, or even now, lives altered in so many ways. I think it just further accentuates, issues that we all have, and I think those aren't stories you like to see. But again, even if they weren't reported, there's no question that there are issues that happen at teams. I mean, ideally, from a league standpoint, those issues are handled behind closed doors. And that guys are able to work out issues with their teams. In some cases, guys end up getting traded because that's what the team wants to do rather than that's what the player wants. In other cases, it's just bad chemistry on a team or change in circumstances, changes in GMs and coaches, and those things work their way out. I would say in the case of both James Harden and Kyrie, you have like extraordinarily talented people, complex people also, who again, I mean, in many ways like LeBron, it's not just about life on the court. They're multidimensional people. They feel strongly about lots of issues around their community. And again, at the end of the day, you just want to see them be able to focus and have great seasons. And it seems like in this case, both of them, both situations have settled down. I think Kyrie, I think recognizes at the end of the day that talking to the media is part of his responsibility as a player. And it's not really just about the media, with all due respect. I mean, you all are a proxy, for reaching our fans, and it's part of how our fans can engage with our players in our game to understand sort of what players are thinking about and what they're doing. And I think James, I saw the media he did last week. He said he's focused on his game and being in Houston right now. And look, he's got some great players around him, and let's see what happens once the season starts. Ultimately, that's what puts a smile on my face. That's what's so exciting to be back to NBA basketball.
Absolutely, getting back to NBA basketball, but I'd be remiss in neglecting to bring up Kawhi Leonard as well because you guys are investigating. The league is investigating allegations made against the Los Angeles Clippers and consultant Jerry West about the recruitment of Kawhi Leonard. What can you tell us about that, and how far along you are in that investigation? What can you speak on in regards to that?
All I can say there is everyone is entitled to the presumption of innocence. Obviously, someone that is not known to me or to the league office has made an allegation against the team, and so we'll look into it. It's our obligation on behalf of all 30 teams that if something comes to our attention, you know, and we look into it and we see if there's anything there. Again, there I have no reason to believe, based on what's been alleged so far, that there's anything inappropriate that took place. But that's why we follow up on whatever leads come to the league office. So that's all I can say right now.